Okay, today I want to talk about the Book of Hosea, and I'm going to try to go really quickly because there's a lot of information in this little short book. If you've never read it, you should. And what you need to understand is that this is a prophetic book. I know it's like some weird things in there, but you need to understand this is a prophetic book, and these things have meaning to them. And you need to know that the wife, the harlot wife that Hosea marries, well, she is symbolic of Israel, or what we call the church today. These things, they all have meaning, and they are prophetic, and in my opinion, it is where we are today. So we're going to go, and I'm going to go very quickly, and I'm going to, be going pretty fast through this, and hopefully we'll get it done within the 20 minutes. Okay, we're going to start at the very beginning in Hosea chapter 1 and verse 1. The word of the Lord which came to Hosea the son of Beeri during the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Asa, and Hezekiah king of Judah, and during the days of Jeroboam the son of Joash the king of Israel. When the Lord spoke to Hosea the Lord, he said to Hosea, Go take for yourself a wife of harlotry, and have children of harlotry, for the land commits fragrant harlotry, forsaking the Lord. So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Dilbilim, and he conceived and bore him a son. And the Lord said to him, Name him Jezreel, for I and yet a little while will punish the house of Jehu for the bloodshed at Jezreel, and I will put an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. And it come about on the day I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. Then she conceived again, and gave a daughter to the Lord, and said, Name her Lo Ruhamah, for I will no longer have compassion on the house of Israel, that I should ever forgive them. But I will have compassion on the house of Judah, and deliver them by the Lord their God. And I will not deliver them by the bow, or the battle horses, or the horsemen. And when she had weaned Lo Ruhamah, she conceived and gave birth to a son. And the Lord said, Name him Lo Ami, for you are not my people, and I am not your God. Yet the number of the house of the sons of Israel will be like the sands of the seas, which cannot be measured or numbered. And it will come about in that place where it is said to them, You are not my people, it will be said to them, You are the sons of the living God. And the sons of Judah and the sons of Israel will be gathered together, and he will appoint for himself one leader, and they will go up from that land in the great day of Jezreel. So Jeroboam, if you don't know, he was the king that became king after Solomon. We know that Solomon got into all of this idolatry with all of his wives, and so at that point God split the kingdom of Israel into two kingdoms, and he gave one of them to Jeroboam, which he took the 10 tribes, which is the northern tribes, which are the it's called the house of Israel, or also the house of Ephraim. And then the 2 southern tribes, which is Judah and Benjamin, went to Rehoboam, which was the son of Solomon, and that was just as a courtesy to David, the King David. So he preserved that, and that is where you have these 2 houses that are separate now. You have the house of Israel and you have the house of Judah, and they are separate. But we know that the prophecy says that in the end time, the 2 sticks will become one in Yahweh's hand. Okay, they are going to come together. All of this will happen. And when the prophetic text is talking about one king, David, it is meaning Yeshua, because Yeshua is through the line of David. Okay, so the name Lo Ruhamah, it means that you have not obtained compassion. So this first child that he had with this harlot, he named it Lo Ruhamah, which means you have not obtained compassion. And then the next one he named Lo Ami, which means you are not my people. So let's skip down to Hosea chapter 2, verse 1 through 5. And it says, Say to your brothers Ami, and your sisters Ruhamah. Contend with your mother, For she is not my wife, and I am not her husband. And let her put away her harlotry from her face, and her adultery from between her breasts, lest I strip her naked, and expose her as the day she was born. I will make her like a wilderness, and make her like a desert land, and I will slay her with thirst. And also I have no compassion on her children, because they are children of harlotry. For their mother was played the harlot. She has conceived them and acted shamefully. For she said, I will go after my lovers, who gave me bread and water, and my wool, and my flax, and my oil, and my drink. Okay, so now we see a change in the name. The brothers and sisters of this Lo-Ami, these are, and Lo-Ruhamah and Lo-Ami. Now we see the brother and sister of them is Ami, which means my people, and Ruhamah means has obtained compassion. So he's saying to them, go and contend with your mother. Who is the mother of these children? If we're talking about prophetic, we're not talking about Gomer. We're talking, you need to think prophetically. The mother of these people is Israel, is the church. He says, go and contend. He's telling the people, his people, Ami, okay, and Ruhamah, the ones that are his people, the ones that have found compassion with him. Go and contend with your mother, your harlot mother. Okay, and that's what this is saying. Tell her to put away her idolatry. So let's skip on down. We're going to go to verse 6. Therefore, behold, I will hedge up her ways with thorns, and I will build a wall against her, so she cannot find her paths. And she will pursue her lovers, but she will not overtake them. And she will seek them, but not find them. Then I will say, I will go back to... Then she will say, I will go back to my first husband. Who is her first husband? Her first husband is Yahweh, but she was adulteress. Okay? And she's saying, I need to go back to Yahweh, my first husband. Hold on. For it was better for me then and now, for she does not know that it was I who gave her grain and new wine and oil, and lavished her with silver and gold, which they used for Baal. He's saying, even though she was cheating on me, and I still lavished her with stuff, she took the gifts and the blessings that I gave her, and she gave them to Baal, because she's a harlot. And therefore I will take back my grain and my harvest, and my new wine in its season, and I will take away my wool and flax given to her to cover her nakedness. And then I will uncover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and no one will rescue her out of my hand. And I will also put an end to all her gaiety, her feast, her new moons, her Sabbaths, and all her festival assemblies. And I will destroy all her vines and her fig trees, of which she said, these are my wages, which my lovers have given me. And I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the fields will devour them. And I will punish her for the days of the Baals, when she offered sacrifice to them, and adorned herself with earrings and jewelry, and followed after her lovers, so that she forgot me, declares the Lord. So who is he talking about here? Her. It is not his festival days. It is her festival days that he is going to get rid of. It is these days that you hear me harping on all the time, and the reason that I'm harping on this is because I am part of the Ami, okay? I am telling you, I'm contending with my mother, okay? Stop this idolatry. These days, they are Baal worship at their root. This is absolute truth. I'm telling you, it doesn't take much looking into this thing. They are Baal worship at the root. Christmas and Easter is extremely pagan. They are rooted in Baal worship. That's what they are. And so he's saying to them, you have followed after these Baals, and I'm going to destroy this. You know, those are all her festival days. These have nothing to do with God. They are her festival days. And he's going to destroy them. And he can't stand them. God cannot stand those days. I know that people have in their mind that they're doing it and that's a form of worship to God, but he absolutely can't stand it. And in the end, he will get rid of all of them. There won't be any Christmas or Easter. I know that's probably hard to wrap your brain around, but that's what this prophecy is saying, and that's what will happen. So let's go on down. We're going to go to chapter 2 and start at verse 16. And will come about a day, declares the Lord, that you will call me Ishi, and no longer call me Baali. For I will remove the names of the Baals from her mouth, so that they are not mentioned by their names no more. Ishi means husband. You will call me by my name husband, because we, Israel, are betrothed to him. At least we were until he gave us a writ of divorce. Because of this right here. Because of idolatry. And we will again call him husband. We will no longer call him Baali. We no longer call him Baal. Okay? You know, we will not mention the names Baal anymore. We will not do any of these Baal feasts. That's what he wants. He wants you to step out of this. He wants you to stop being a harlot. And then the Lord said to me, go again and love a woman who was loved by her husband and yet an adulteress, as the Lord loves the sons of Israel, though they turn to other gods and love raising cakes. Now this raising cakes, this is a direct reference to the worship of Easter. You can see this in the book of Ezekiel, I believe, where he looks through the little hole and sees the women and they were making cakes. Well, these are raisin cakes, and these raisin cakes were given as offerings to the goddess Ashtaroth, Easter, you know, whoever you want to call her. They're all the same god. It's the female deity. She's the moon god. So this is what that's talking about. They love raisin cakes. They love Easter. Okay? He's totally going against this. Right here it is. You don't have to just take my word for it. Just read the scripture. And, you know, you see these raisin cakes, they're only come around. We call them hot cross buns now. You only see them during Easter. Why is that? Because that's when they always have been. Because they were offerings to this goddess. Okay? You got to see, we are still consumed with this stuff. We are absolutely consumed by it. For the sons of Israel, chapter 3, Hosea 3, verse 4. For the sons of Israel will remain for many days without a king or a priest, without sacrifices or sacred pillar, and without ephod or household idols. Afterwards, the sons of Israel will return and seek the Lord their God, and David their king will come, and they will come trembling before the Lord and his goodness in the last days. And see, that's where I was saying earlier to you, when it says David their king, it is referring to Yeshua. So he's saying that the house of Israel they're going to be alone. He's like turning his back on us. You know, that we're not going to have a king for all these years. And here in the last days, he's going to come back to us. Okay? And in these next few verses, I personally believe this is where we are today. And I'm sorry I didn't put my phone on silent. We're going to go down to Hosea chapter 4, verse 1. Start at verse 1. Listen to the word of the Lord, O sons of Israel, for the Lord has a case against you, inhabitants of the land, because there is no faithfulness or kindness or knowledge of God in the land. There is swearing, deception, murder, stealing, and adultery. They employ violence, so bloodshed follows bloodshed. Therefore the land mourns, and everyone who lives in it languishes, along with the beasts of the field, and the birds of the skies, and the fish of the sea disappear. Yet no one finds fault, and let no reproof. For your people are like those who contend with the priest. So you stumble by day, and the prophet will also stumble with you by night, and I will destroy your mother. For my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I will also reject you from being my priest. Since you have forgotten the law of your God, I will also forget your children. The more they multiplied, the more they sinned against me, and I will change their glory into shame. They fed on sin of my people, and direct their desire toward their iniquity. And it will be like people, like priests, so I will punish them for their ways, and I will repay them for their deeds. And they will eat, but not have enough. They will play the harlot, but not increase, because they have stopped giving heed to the Lord. Harlotry, wine, and new wine take away understanding. My people consult their wooden idols, and their diviners' wines informs them. For the spirit of harlotry has led them astray, and they have played the harlot, departing from their God. They have offered sacrifices on top of mountains, and burnt incense on the hills, under oaks and poplars and terebinth, because of their shade is pleasant. Therefore your daughters have played the harlot, and your brides commit adultery. And we see this today, that there is a lack of knowledge. No one wants to hear what the scripture actually say. They only want you to tell them what feels good and what makes you feel fluffy inside. But this is not who God is. This book of Hosea is showing you who God is. He's not hidden himself. Okay, he's not always fluffy and nice. And he is going to exact some punishment for this idolatry that has been stuck in his face. You've got to realize that Israel is a bride, and we are betrothed to God, to Yahweh. And so just think of it in human terms. You know, you're betrothed to this person, but in his face you're sleeping around and cheating, and you're just putting it in his face. How angry is that? And see, that's what he sees when he sees us doing these other things, and he sees these other festivals and all of these, Sabbaths and things for these other guys. Excuse me. He sees that as adultery. And we have to stop this thing. So, Ephraim is the house of Israel. We see in chapter 7 and 8 that Yahweh rebukes them for their priest teaching false worship. The people of Israel have been scattered amongst the nation because of this. The house of Israel is scattered. They're totally dispersed. They don't even know who they are. And it's because of this right here. It's because of this idolatry. And we see that it talks about the priest. The more he multiplied them, the more that they, taught sin. And so he's going to go into more detail on this. And this is in Hosea chapter 8. We'll start in chapter 8 and verse 12. Though I wrote for him 10,000 precepts of my law, they regarded them as a strange thing. Return. And then, okay, and that's what's happened now too. If I'm somebody that's telling you, look, you need to get back to the precepts of God. You need to start obeying God the way he's asked to be obeyed and worshipped. He has his own festival days, which the church doesn't even, it's not even a blip on their radar. They don't do anything. Next Sunday is the Feast of Pentecost. Most Pentecostals don't even celebrate Pentecost. Okay, so these things, these feasts, but they are there, and these priests, they have fed on the iniquity, the lawlessness of the people, and they, the more that they multiplied, the more sin they did. And that's why he has to totally get rid of all of these feasts. He has to basically pull you out, his people, he's got to pull you out of this. You are in a spiritual Egypt at this point. And that's where you're at. And it's going to take another Exodus to pull you out of it. Okay, and we're going to go, and this is, I'm fixing to close here. Hosea chapter 14. Going to skip over to chapter 14 and verse 1. Return, O Israel, to the Lord your God, for you have stumbled because of your iniquity. You need to know that the word iniquity means lawlessness. It means anomia, without the Torah. And when it says Israel, remember I said that's the church. Return, O church, because you have stumbled, because you have forgot, because of your lack of the Torah. Okay? Return, O Israel, to the Lord your God, for you have stumbled because of your iniquity. Take words with you and return to the Lord. Say to him, take away our iniquity and receive us graciously, that we may present the fruit of our lips. Assyria will not save us. We will not ride on horses, nor will we again, our God, to the work of our hands. For thee and the orphans finds mercy. I will heal their apostasy. I will love them freely, for my anger has turned away from them. It will be like the dew of Israel. He will blossom them like a lily, and I will take root in their cedars of Lebanon. His shoots will sprout, and his beauty will be like an olive tree, and the fragrance like cedars of Lebanon. Those who live in his shadow will again raise again, and they will blossom like the vine. He is renowned like the wine of Lebanon. O Ephraim, what more have I to do with idols? It is I who answer and look after you. I am like a luxuriant cypress. From me comes your fruit. Whoever is wise, let him understand these things. Whoever is discerning, let him know them. For the ways of the Lord are right, and the righteous will walk in them, but transgressors will stumble in them. So here he is, he's just saying that his ways are right, and transgressors are going to stumble. And this is what he's talking about through this entire book of Hosea. It is about the house of Israel stumbling and being a harlot and being full of iniquity, because they have totally rejected the Torah. And so the Lord delights in loyalty rather than sacrifice, and knowledge of God rather than burnt offerings. We have come to a time that the priests feed on the iniquity of their flock. Lies are preached as truth. The feast of Baals are front and center in the church's mind. We have ignored the path he set for us and exchanged it for the path of the nations, the true people of Yahweh, Ami and Ruhamah. They must contend with their mother, the church. Walk away from these festivals. Walk away from it. And I know it's hard, because I walked away from them and it was hard. But you can do it. And it's the right thing to do. And you will be blessed because of it. So walk away from these festivals. They are made up, like the festival of Jeroboam. Okay, I don't know if you know what those are, but maybe I said it at the beginning. But he set up 2 golden calves, and he basically made a fake Feast of Tabernacles, and he was punished for that severely. So come back to the Lord's feast. He sees the church now as a harlot, and we are children of harlotry. We must walk away from these things. We must not regard his law as strange. That's the saddest thing, that his law is regarded as strange by people who say they are his people and that he's their God. It doesn't make any sense logically. Stop going after the Baals. Seek Yahweh in his ways. Become the bride that he deserves. One that's not a harlot. And I totally understand the love that people have for these things. Like I said, I've already done it. And it was hard. But it's the right thing to do. and know that he sees these festivals and all these things, he sees them as harlotry. Jeroboam, he set up a fake Feast of Tabernacles. Fake feast. He doesn't want it. He only wants his feast, and you can find his feasts. They are listed in Leviticus chapter 23. Yeshua kept all the feasts. He walked them as an example for us. The Apostle Paul, who most people twist his words, he would roll over in his grave if he knew what words they put in his mouth. It's not true. It's lies. And these priests are making money off of the lies that they're telling their people. They're destroying the flock of God. Come out of her, people of God. Come out of her, Ami and Ruhamah.